They lied to you. Souls without contracts exist. The sacred texts never mentioned them. The spiritual teachers never warned you. Every sermon about destiny, every meditation on life's purpose, all built on one colossal omission. Not every soul arrives with a plan. Most do. They sign before birth, agreements etched in cosmic ink, lessons mapped like constellations, karma balanced on celestial scales. But some slip through the cracks. No contract, no roadmap, no divine GPS whispering, turn here for enlightenment, and that changes everything. Because if the universe operates on sacred agreements, if reincarnation is just a classroom where souls return to learn, to grow, to settle debts, then what happens when a soul shows up empty-handed? No syllabus, no teacher, no final exam, just existence, raw, unfiltered, a spiritual freefall with no parachute. Edgar Cayce saw them. The sleeping prophet, the man who bent time like a reed in his trances, spoke of these anomalies in hushed, urgent tones. Between readings about Atlantis and past life cures, he'd pause, his voice dropping to a whisper. There are those who walk without purpose, not by choice, but by absence. No grand soul mission, no karmic ledger to balance, just a void where destiny should be. This isn't about lost souls in the poetic sense. This is about a glitch in the matrix, a tear in the fabric of reincarnation itself. Because if souls usually incarnate with contracts, if the universe depends on that order, then what forces these exceptions into being? And more terrifying, why now? Mainstream spirituality has no answer. It can't. The moment you admit that some souls arrive unassigned, the entire framework trembles. No more everything happens for a reason. No more you chose this life. Just the cold realization that some of us are here by accident. Cosmic oversights. And Cayce's readings suggest their numbers are growing. But here's the question that kept him awake at night. What happens to them after they die? Do they dissolve like mist at dawn? Are they recycled into new contracts, forced to try again? Or do they become something else entirely, something the universe never intended? The answer lies in what Cayce called the unclaimed. And once you understand their fate, you'll never look at death or life the same way again. Part 2 reveals the 3 destinations of contractless souls, and why one of them is rewriting the rules of the afterlife. Do you believe every soul has a purpose? Edgar Cayce didn't. The sleeping prophet shattered the illusion we've been fed, that each life is a carefully scripted lesson, each struggle a divine test. He revealed something far more terrifying. Some souls arrive without contracts at all. No blueprint, no karmic debt to repay, no cosmic agreement guiding their steps. Imagine stepping into a theater where every actor knows their lines, except you. The stage is set, the script is written, but your pages are blank. That's the reality Cayce described for these contractless souls. They walk among us, untethered to the grand design, their existence a glitch in the spiritual matrix, and their presence, it doesn't just disrupt their own lives, it warps the karmic cycles of everyone around them. Why would the universe allow this? Cayce's readings exposed a hidden truth. Free will isn't just about choice. It's about consequence. These souls aren't mistakes, they're wildcards, living experiments in what happens when a consciousness enters the game without rules. Some call it chaos. Cayce called it necessary. Because here's the revelation that will unsettle you. If every soul had a contract, evolution would stall. The system would become predictable, stagnant. The contractless are the friction in the machine, the unpredictable variable that forces growth, even if it comes at a cost. But what happens when they die? Cayce's answer was never simple. Some vanish into the void, their energy dispersed like mist. Others, they return changed. Not as souls with contracts, but as something else. Something the readings only hinted at in fragmented, cryptic warnings. You need to understand this. The absence of a contract isn't freedom. It's a different kind of prison. One where the walls are invisible, the rules unwritten, and the exit uncertain. And now the question that should keep you awake. What if you're one of them? They say every step is predestined. The truth. Some souls wander without direction. Imagine a grand cosmic ledger. Every birth, every lesson, every karmic debt meticulously recorded. Then imagine a page torn out. Vanished. As if it never existed. That's what happens when a soul enters this world without a contract. No blueprint, no divine agreement, just chaos. Edgar Cayce revealed these contractless souls don't just stumble, they shatter the order of things. They disrupt karmic cycles like a storm tearing through a carefully planted field. Relationships they form, unstable. Lessons they encounter, random. The energy they carry, unpredictable. Because without a soul contract, there's no anchor, no cosmic GPS guiding their steps. They move through life as strangers in a land where everyone else follows an unseen map, and the consequences, terrifying. These souls don't just wander, they collide. They force others off their paths. A lover meant to teach patience suddenly walks away. A mentor destined to share wisdom falls silent. A family bond, preordained to heal generational wounds, snaps under the weight of unplanned interference. Cayce warned that their presence creates ripples, sometimes waves, that derail entire spiritual timelines. But why would the universe allow this? Some say it's a test, others whisper it's a glitch. Cayce's readings suggested something darker. These souls may be remnants of forgotten wars. Spiritual refugees from battles so ancient, their purpose was erased, not just lost but deleted from the Akashic records. They incarnate now as echoes, searching for a meaning that no longer exists. And when they die, the records go silent. No reincarnation cycle waits for them. No cosmic review board evaluates their journey. They simply vanish, like a candle flame snuffed out in a room where no one remembers it was ever lit. You need to understand this. Their existence isn't just random, it's a warning, a sign that even the most sacred systems can fracture. That free will isn't just a gift, it's a force powerful enough to break the rules of creation itself. So ask yourself, if you met one of these souls, would you recognize them? Or would you just feel the cold draft of their passing and never know why it chilled you to the bone? Because here's what Cayce never fully explained. Some of them know they don't belong, and that knowledge, it drives them to do things no contracted soul ever would. But what happens to souls that wander aimlessly? They don't just drift, they shatter. Edgar Cayce's readings exposed a terrifying truth. Contractless souls aren't merely lost, they're unmoored, caught in a storm of their own making. Without the anchor of a soul contract, they collide with karmic forces they were never meant to face. The result? A spiritual civil war. One that leaves scars not just in this life, but in the next. History whispers of them. The medieval records of the Hollow Ones, souls who walked among us but left no trace in the Akashic records. Cayce's trance communications described them as echoes without origin, beings who arrived without purpose and departed without resolution. One reading from 1932 revealed a chilling detail. These souls often disrupt the karmic cycles of others. Like a stone hurled into a pond, their presence ripples outward, distorting the lessons of those with contracts. A mother's unfulfilled soul agreement. A lover's betrayal that wasn't meant to be. Cayce warned that their influence isn't accidental. It's parasitic. They feed on the structured energy of contracted souls, draining meaning where they find it. But the true horror isn't what they do to others. It's what happens to them. The afterlife doesn't accommodate the contractless. Cayce's readings described a realm beyond the earth plane, a void of unresolved vibration, where these souls are quarantined, not punished, contained, because they carry no lessons to review, no karma to balance. They cannot reincarnate. They cannot ascend. They simply persist. One entity, channeled through Cayce in 1941, called it the Great Waiting, a state of suspended consciousness, neither here nor there, where time loses meaning. Some, the readings suggested, eventually dissolve, not into light, but into the raw, formless energy of the universe. Others, they linger, for centuries. And here's the revelation that silenced Cayce's study group for 3 days straight. Some of them return. Not as humans, not as guides, but as disruptions, energetic anomalies that attach to places, objects, even people. The hauntings that defy explanation. The sudden, inexplicable surges of despair in a room where nothing happened. Cayce's notes label these residual imprints of the contractless, fragments of souls that refuse to fade. They don't communicate. They don't seek justice, they leak. Like radiation from a broken reactor, their unresolved energy seeps into our world, warping emotions, twisting fate. But why would the universe allow this? Cayce's final reading on the subject exposed the brutal truth. Free will isn't just a gift, it's a test, and some souls fail it so completely that they cease to be souls at all. Now consider this. If you've ever met someone who felt empty, not depressed, not lost, but fundamentally absent, what if you were standing in the presence of one of them? And what if their very existence is proof that the spiritual rules we assume are absolute aren't? The streets twist into shadows. Every face you pass carries purpose, their steps certain, their eyes focused. But you stand frozen. The air hums with secrets you weren't meant to know. This is not a dream. This is the reality of a soul born without a contract. Edgar Cayce revealed it first. Most incarnations begin with a sacred agreement, a blueprint, lessons etched in cosmic ink before the first breath. But some arrive unmarked. No guideposts, no karmic ledger waiting to be balanced. Just silence, a void where divine instruction should be. And in that emptiness, chaos takes root. They feel it immediately. The wrongness. A child who stares too long at the stars, searching for answers no parent can give. A teenager who rages against fate itself, screaming into the night. Why don't I fit? An adult who builds empires or burns them down, not for ambition, but for the fleeting rush of feeling something, anything, real. These are the contract-less, the spiritual orphans, and their suffering is not accidental. It is architectural. Cayce quote. As readings expose the terrifying truth, such souls are not mistakes. They are disruptions, living anomalies in the karmic machine. When a soul enters without a contract, it doesn't just wander, it shatters the expected cycles. Like a stone hurled into a clockwork universe, their presence forces recalibration. The spirit world watches, waits. Some say these souls are tests for the rest of us. Others whisper darker theories that they are the remnants of wars fought in realms beyond our sight, cast adrift as punishment or warning. But the most haunting question remains: what happens when they die? No contract means no predetermined exit, no celestial hand reaching down to guide them home. Cayce's visions showed some lingering in the earth plane, confused, unable to cross over. Others vanished, not into light, but into something older. A place where even the Akashic records dare not look too closely. And a rare few, they return, again and again, each life more desperate than the last, searching for the purpose they were never given. You quote, met them, the ones who make your skin prickle with recognition, though you've never seen their face before. The strangers who ask questions no one else would dare voice. They are the living echoes of a cosmic silence, and their story is far from over. Because here's what Cayce never said aloud. They were meant to break the system. The question is, what happens when the system breaks back? Here's what they don't tell you. Many spiritual traditions skip over souls without purpose. They whisper of destiny, of divine contracts written in starlight, yet remain silent about those who arrive with no map, no compass, no sacred agreement to guide them. These are the forgotten, the uncharted. Souls cast into existence without the invisible threads that bind most to their lessons, their challenges, their reason. Imagine stepping into a storm blindfolded. No warnings, no landmarks, only the howling wind and the crushing weight of not knowing why you're there. That is their reality. While contracted souls move through life with quiet assurance, each trial a lesson, each heartbreak a karmic resolution, these others stumble. They grasp at meaning where none was planted. They scream into the void and hear only their own echoes. Edgar Cayce exposed this truth. Not every soul is here to learn. Some are here to disrupt. They are the wild cards in the cosmic deck, the variables that shatter predictable cycles. A soul with a contract follows its path, no matter how painful, but a soul without one, it flails. It tears at the fabric of fate, leaving behind confusion, broken relationships, and spiritual chaos. They are the storm surge that floods the carefully built levees of karma. And yet here is the revelation that will unsettle you. This is not a punishment. Cayce's readings suggest these souls chose this, not out of defiance but out of a terrifying sacred curiosity. They are the explorers who burned their maps before setting sail. The ones who whispered, "What if purpose is not given but taken?" They incarnate to prove a single forbidden idea, that meaning can be created, not just received. But creation is violent. It demands destruction first. These souls often leave wreckage in their wake. Lovers abandoned mid-lesson, families fractured by their restless searching, lives spent chasing phantoms. They are the artists who never finish their masterpieces, the revolutionaries who die before the revolution, and when they do, Cayce's visions grow darker. Their afterlife is not a return to the Akashic records, not a review of lessons learned. It is a reckoning with the void they carried within them. You need to understand this. The universe does not waste energy. If a soul enters without a contract, it is because the contract was the cage. These are the ones who refused the script, and their fate, that is the secret. Even Cayce hesitated to reveal. Because what happens when a soul that was never meant to belong finally finds its way home? 1 in 1,000. A number that holds secrets of purpose and confusion. Not 1 in 1,000,000, where rarity becomes myth, but 1 in 1,000, close enough to walk among us, unseen. These are the souls who arrived without contracts, without blueprints, without the silent agreements that bind most of humanity to its karmic path. Edgar Cayce called them the unassigned, the wandering spirits who slipped through the cracks of divine order, and their presence. It doesn't just disrupt lives, it shatters the very architecture of fate. Imagine a grand symphony, each instrument playing its part, each note resonating with the next. Then suddenly a single musician begins to improvise, not by choice but because they were never given the sheet music. Their discord doesn't just clash with the melody, it forces the entire orchestra to hesitate, to question, to stumble. That is what these souls do to the karmic cycle. They were never meant to be here. At least, not like this. Most souls incarnate with contracts, sacred pacts forged in the Akashic records, detailing lessons, trials, and the faces they'll meet along the way. But these were omissions, errors in the cosmic ledger. Some say they were forgotten, others whisper they were erased, their contracts deleted before birth, their destinies vanished like ink in rain. Cayce's readings hinted at something far more terrifying. They were never written at all. Why? The answers lie in the spaces between lives, where the veil thins and the truth becomes too heavy to ignore. Some souls refuse reincarnation's call, resisting the pull of growth until the universe, impatient, forces them back. Others are sent as tests, not for themselves but for those around them, living mirrors reflecting the fractures in our own spiritual complacency. And then there are the ones who slip through by accident, the cosmic equivalent of a locked door left ajar. Their existence is a paradox. They walk among us breathing the same air, yet their footsteps leave no karmic imprint, no debts to repay, no lessons to master, just emptiness where purpose should be. And that emptiness, it spreads. Because here is the hidden cost: when a soul without a contract touches another's path, it doesn't just wander, it unravels. Relationships built on predestined bonds suddenly feel hollow. Lessons that should have been learned vanish like smoke. The carefully woven tapestry of a planned life begins to fray at the edges. Cayce warned that these souls often become the architects of chaos, not by malice but by default. A child born without a contract may grow into an adult who dismantles families, not out of cruelty, but because they never understood the unspoken rules of love. A lover without a soul agreement may promise forever, then disappear without warning, because forever was never part of their design. And what happens when they die? That is the question that silences even the boldest mystics. The contracted soul returns to the Akashic Hall of Records, its lessons reviewed, its debts tallied. But the unassigned, Cayce's readings grow cryptic here. Some vanish into the void, their essence scattered like dust. Others are reclaimed, pulled into realms so ancient, so forbidden, that even the sleeper's prophecies dare not name them. And a rare few, they are given a second chance, a contract written in haste, inked with the blood of their own confusion. But that is a truth for another revelation. For now, consider this. If 1 in 1,000 carries no contract, how many have you already met? How many have you loved? And what happens when the universe realizes its mistake and comes to collect what was never meant to stay? Envision a soul as a ship without a compass, its sails tattered by unseen winds, its hull groaning against the crushing weight of an endless starless sea. No charts, no destination, only the deafening silence of a voyage with no purpose. This is the terrifying reality Edgar Cayce revealed about the souls who incarnate without contracts. They are the spiritual orphans of existence, cast adrift in a realm where every other being moves with invisible purpose. Cayce's readings exposed a truth too unsettling to ignore. Most souls enter this world with sacred agreements, blueprints of lessons, relationships, and karmic debts to settle. But some arrive empty. No divine script, no cosmic promise, just the raw, unfiltered chaos of existence. Imagine waking in a foreign land where everyone speaks a language you've never heard, where the rules were written before you were born, and you weren't invited to the meeting. That's their reality. Why does this happen? Cayce's visions pierced the veil. These are the souls who refused the contract. Some, in arrogance, believed they needed no guidance. Others, in despair, shattered their agreements in past lives, leaving them spiritually bankrupt. A few were never offered one at all, cast-offs from higher realms, too damaged or too dangerous to be trusted with purpose. They walk among us in visible storms of confusion, their every choice a gamble in a game they don't understand. The consequences are devastating. Without a contract, they cannot fulfill karma. They cannot balance scales. Their actions ripple outward, not as lessons but as disruptions, colliding with the destined paths of others, leaving wreckage in their wake. Cayce warned that these souls often become the architects of chaos, the tyrants who crush nations on a whim, the lovers who destroy without remorse, the wanderers who vanish without trace. They are the living proof that purpose is not a gift, it is a necessity. And then death comes. For most it's a return, a reckoning, a step forward on the soul's eternal journey. But for the contractless, Cayce's readings grew cold, silent. He spoke of a void, not punishment, not reward, but an abyss of waiting. Some are given one final chance to choose purpose. Others, they are unmade, dissolved back into the cosmic essence, their spark extinguished like a candle in a hurricane. You need to understand this. The universe does not waste energy. Every soul is here for a reason, except those who aren't. And that exception is the most terrifying truth of all. What happens when the compassless ship finally sinks? That's where Cayce's next revelation will shatter everything you think you know. Long before Cayce's readings exposed the truth, the ancients knew. The Gnostics called them aplanas, the wandering ones, souls untethered from divine purpose, drifting through existence like ships without rudders. Their texts, buried in the sands of Nag Hammadi, warned of beings who incarnated not by the will of the Father, but by the chaos of the abyss. No contract, no lesson. Just a hollow echo where purpose should be. The Zoroastrians spoke of them too. In the Bundahishan they were the Druj, those who walked the earth without the thread of destiny. Priests recorded their presence in temple archives, men and women who moved through life as if half asleep, their choices erratic, their suffering profound. One scroll described a woman who, upon her deathbed, screamed not in pain, but in recognition, "I was never supposed to be here," before her spirit vanished into the void. And then there were the Kabbalists. The Zohar whispers of Kelipot, shattered vessels of creation that never fully formed. Some, they claimed, carried souls that had slipped through the cracks of divine order. Rabbi Isaac Luria wrote of encountering such a man in 16th century Safed, a scholar by day, a hollow shell by night. He recited the Torah perfectly, Luria recorded, yet when I looked into his eyes I saw no light, only the reflection of my own candle. They moved like ghosts, he wrote, but they cast no shadows. Why? What force hurls these unfinished souls into the world? Cayce's readings later revealed the terrifying answer. They are the overflow of cosmic mistakes. When the universe corrects its balance, when too many souls refuse their contracts, when karmic debts spiral out of control, these extras are pushed into existence as a failsafe. a reset button. But unlike contracted souls, they carry no blueprint for growth, no roadmap for return. And that is why their suffering is different. They don't struggle with life's challenges, they drown in its meaninglessness. A contracted soul faces a storm and learns resilience. A contractless soul faces the same storm and asks, "Why am I even in this boat?" The question isn't rhetorical, it's a scream into the void. History quote. Great mystics agreed on one thing: these souls rarely last long. Some vanish into madness. Others take their own lives, not out of despair but from an instinctive pull toward correction, as if the universe itself is erasing a mistake. The few who endure, they become the hollow-eyed prophets, the artists who paint in colors no one else sees, the strangers who whisper truths that shatter religions. But here's what Cayce's readings never fully explained, what the ancient texts only hinted at in coded warnings. They are increasing, and the next era of upheaval has already begun. Edgar Cayce's readings exposed a terrifying truth. Some souls enter this world without the divine blueprint. Most take for granted, no predetermined lessons, no karmic agreements, no spiritual GPS, just existence, raw and uncharted. But if not a contract, what steers them? Cayce's visions revealed three possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. First, the echo of past lives. These souls, he warned, may be fragments of shattered incarnations, remnants of existences so traumatic, so incomplete, that the universe hurled them back without preparation. They stumble through life guided only by the faint, distorted whispers of what should have been, like a ship navigating by the ghost of a lighthouse, long since extinguished. Second, the intervention of forgotten guides. Cayce spoke of the unseen companions, entities that step in when contracts fail, not angels, not ascended masters. Something older, something that watches from the edges of perception, nudging these lost souls toward moments of brutal, forced awakening, a near-death experience, a sudden obsession with occult symbols, a dream so vivid it burns into waking life. These aren't accidents, they're corrections. Third and most chilling, they are the experiment. Cayce's trance records hint at souls deliberately sent without contracts to test the boundaries of free will. No rules, no safety nets, just pure unfiltered choice. The universe, he suggested, studies them like scientists observing lab rats in a maze with no exit. Their suffering? Data. Their confusion? Part of the design. But here's the twist. These souls know something is missing. They feel it in the cold hollow behind their ribs when others speak of life purpose. They see it in the way synchronicities almost align, but never quite click. And when they die, Cayce's readings grow cryptic. Some vanish into the void, their energy dispersed like mist. Others, they return. Again and again, each time more desperate, each time less human. So ask yourself, have you ever met someone who seemed untethered, who moved through life like a ghost in their own story? Cayce's warnings suggest they aren't lost. They quote, unassigned. And the universe is waiting to see what they'll do next. For some, death is a return, a familiar threshold crossed, where the soul slips effortlessly into the arms of cosmic memory. The lessons learned, the contracts fulfilled, everything accounted for in the ledger of eternity. But for others, death is not a homecoming. It is a locked door, a question mark carved into the void. No recognition, no welcome, only the deafening silence of a journey that never had a map. Edgar Cayce revealed the terrifying truth. Not all who walk this earth were meant to. Some arrived without contracts, without purpose, without the sacred agreements that bind most souls to their karmic path. And when these wayward spirits face death, they do not ascend, they do not rest. They linger, caught in the in-between, where the laws of reincarnation do not apply, and the cycles of karma refuse to claim them. Imagine standing before the Akashic records, that infinite library of souls, only to find your name erased. No file, no history, no divine signature marking your passage. The guardians turn away. The light does not bend to greet you. You are neither here nor there, suspended in a state Cayce described as spiritual statelessness. no lessons to review, no debts to settle. Just the crushing weight of an existence that was never truly yours to begin with. What happens then? Cayce's readings exposed a truth more unsettling than oblivion. These souls do not dissolve, they do not vanish, they persist, but not as we understand persistence. They become echoes, fragments of consciousness adrift in the astral currents, drawn to the only energy that still acknowledges them, chaos. Some are pulled into the lower realms where lost entities cluster like shadows in a forgotten corner. Others attach themselves to the living, not as guides but as disoriented hitchhikers, their confusion bleeding into the dreams and fears of those who do belong. And the worst part, they know, on some level, these contractless souls have always known, that gnawing sense of wrongness, the feeling of being out of place in your own life. Cayce called it the unmoored ache, a spiritual vertigo with no cure. Because how do you fulfill a destiny you were never given? How do you atone for a path you were never meant to walk? The afterlife does not punish them, it simply ignores them, and in the grand silence of the cosmos, there is no cruelty sharper than being unseen. But here is where Cayce's warnings grow even darker. These souls do not stay lost forever. Eventually, the universe corrects its own errors, and the method, it is not gentle, it is not kind, it is a reckoning so final that even the bravest mystics dared not speak its name aloud. Reflect on this. Are we truly bound by contracts, or do we choose our paths? The question lingers like smoke from a dying fire, persistent, unsettling. Edgar Cayce's revelations about soul contracts expose a cosmic framework. Most of us arrive with agreements etched in the Akashic records, lessons preordained, karmic debts to settle. But then, there are the others, the unscripted, the souls who slip through the cracks of divine design, untethered to any contract at all. What happens when a soul enters this world without a map? Cayce's readings describe them as wanderers, lost in the storm of existence, their purpose obscured, their lessons undefined. They disrupt the karmic cycles not by malice, but by their very nature. They are the variables in an equation meant to be solved. And yet, their presence forces us to confront a terrifying truth. If some souls walk without contracts, then free will is not just a gift, it is a chaos we must navigate alone. Consider this. Every moment of confusion, every unexplainable struggle, could it be the echo of a soul unmoored? Cayce warned that these contractless beings often leave behind a trail of unresolved energy, their lives marked by sudden shifts, unexplained attractions, or a gnawing sense that something is missing. They are the rebels of the spiritual plane, the ones who force the universe to improvise. But here is the revelation that shakes the foundation. Their fate after death is not oblivion. Cayce's readings suggest they are not abandoned. Instead, they are reviewed, not by the rigid terms of a contract, but by the raw truth of their choices. No predetermined lessons to measure against, no karmic ledger to balance, just the crushing weight of their own free will, laid bare before the divine. So ask yourself, do you feel the pull of unseen threads, or are you walking unscripted? The answer may redefine not just this life, but the next. And if Cayce was right, if some of us truly are here without contracts, then the most profound spiritual question isn't what we're meant to learn, but what we dare to choose. The clock is ticking. The records are being written, not by fate, but by you.